What everyday skill becomes suspicious if you're too good at it? Story 1. Tying a noose. At basic training, I got tasked to help the drill sergeants create their haunted house. Battalion competition, long story. My drill asked if anyone knew how to tie a noose, and I whipped out a perfect one in only a few seconds. He just looked at me and said, "Private, what the frick?" Story 2. A couple of years ago, I locked my keys in my car in a Walmart parking lot. I went in and asked if they could help me. 2 employees came out with a Slim Jim. The one guy made a bet with the other that he could unlock my car in under a minute. He then proceeded to unlock my car in 15 seconds. I told him thanks, you must have a lot of practice, to which he laughed and walked away. Yeah, that guy must be a professional at breaking into cars. Good thing he works at Walmart and not in the mafia or some cartel. Story 3. Strep throat tests. Used to get strep a lot as a kid, so by the time I was tested for it as a 20-year-old, I had the process down. They stick in the big popsicle stick to hold down your tongue, and then they swab the back of your throat while you try not to gag. Well, I happened to be tested by a relatively new, young, attractive doctor this particular time, and when he complimented me on doing well on the test and not gagging, my response was, "Thanks, I've practiced it a lot." If not suspicious, it was at the very least mortifying after realizing the implication of what I said. Reply 1. Haha, as a nurse who has performed these, any adult that could do a throat swab with zero gag, cough, or flinch always made me wonder. Story 4. We play this drinking game where you take the paper bag from the store, put it on the floor standing up, and you have to bend down on one foot and grab it with your teeth. Each round, you trim a few centimeters off the top and keep lowering the bag until there's a winner. One of my very unathletic friends at the time would easily win every round. It would just be him, and he was flexible enough to get the bag only 6 inches off the ground. People were super impressed, and I joked, "It's all that practice from sucking your own pee-pee." And the look he gave me, combined with the awkward laugh, made me think I might have been closer to the truth than I would have hoped. Not gonna lie, you might have actually revealed his dirty little secret. The weirdest part here is that he actually laughed and didn't even try to deny it. Story 5. I once had a neighbor catch me while I was taking groceries out of my car and ask if I knew how to open locked doors, as they locked themselves out by mistake. Went over to their door, took out a credit card, and shimmied my way in no more than 5 seconds. Probably was bittersweet for them. Reply 1. My boss locked herself out of the shop last week, and I did this. We're getting new locks and a security system now. Story 6. Interrogating someone without them knowing. I was at a school thing, and one of my girl classmates really liked a guy, but was too nervous to talk to him. She asked me to figure out some of his info, and I ended up getting his first name, last name, school, hobbies, and grade level. She was happy, but more than a little creeped out about how casually I did it. Congratulations, you've just earned yourself a spot on the FBI's watch list for being the ultimate wingman. Who needs social skills when you've got ninja-level sleuthing abilities? Story 7. Not me, but someone I know once mentioned to me back in their high school days they were suspected of being a snitch because they would always be inclined to leave right before the bust happened. It wasn't that the guy was a snitch. He'd say that sometimes he just got a feeling, or he knew when a party was just dead. Some sort of sixth sense for this. Every time he got around to leaving, his buddies would usually follow suit, since they were usually the ones dealing anyways. Story 8. I once went to a science convention thing, and they had a rectoscopy simulator there. It was this camera snake cable thing that you put into your butt in the machine, and a screen showed a fake camera feed from the tunnel. I got such a good score that the woman at the booth said, "You must have done this before." This is definitely the most embarrassing high score. Geez, I'm not sure what I would have done in this situation. Let me know what you would have done in this situation down in the comments. Story 9. I am too good at Microsoft Excel. I found that by taking over reporting from others, because it took them so much time. I'd automate it to pull from the database, where the previous owner was spending 2 hours a day copy, paste hundreds of cells. A couple hours work once, and I hit a button. Done. I'd use to release right away, even with a script to open, refresh, save, and email it. This caused people to not trust the numbers, so now I still pull in the data, but hold off on releasing it for a bit, even a bit late on occasion. Reply 1. Haha, I had a guy give me a stack of papers and say that these had to be put into Excel and their POS database. Said it normally takes 3 days. I laughed, scanned them all into a PDF, converted to text, and then automated it. I was done with a double check a couple hours in. He didn't believe me, so went through them all by hand. Took him 2 days, and he didn't find any errors. Story 10. Walking silently. It's always a good skill to have to be able to be quiet in a moment's notice, but do it too well and you start appearing behind people and freaking them out. How long have you been there? Type things. Reply 1. My so's parents' house has hardwood floors that everyone just stomps around on. I don't like making noise when I walk, so according to them, I sneak around their house and scare them unintentionally sometimes. Story 11. Recognizing faces. I was approaching the check-in counter of a hotel I didn't remember being in before when the desk clerk welcomed me by name. I was visibly startled. His coworker explained, "He's got a great memory." I checked later. I had been there 3 years before. Reply 1. In his job with the thousands of faces he sees a year, that is a little disturbing. I'm not sure if I would be amazed or kind of disturbed if this happened to me. I mean, how the hell does he remember your name if he hasn't seen you in 3 years? Some people are just weird and creepy on another level, I guess. Story 12. Cleaning liquid spills. If a kid knocks over their glass or the cat gets too close and personal with the fish tank, most people just tend to throw a bathroom towel over it or get out the wet vacuum cleaner. Not super effective and tends to allow time for staining. Some salt, aerosolized carpet foam, and some paper towels will clean up anything like it was never there and in record speed, and all for the low, low price of making people uncomfortable as they imagine you as a mob cleaner. For extra points, say that using this method to clean blood out of carpets or off cheap porous tiles. People faces will be funny as frick. Story 13. Remembering someone else's schedule. Reply 1. I used to be an executive assistant to many people with specific wants and needs. I got really good at remembering what people liked based not only on what they would tell me, but also the things they would do and how they'd react. I eventually became the guy that takes care of things before they become a problem. Sometimes it can be a superpower, but other times people get weirded out by it. Story 14. There was a Greek bartender at this whiskey bar in my hometown that would do the same thing. Every time I came in, I looked different. He still remembered my drink. First time I was on my Harley, so I looked like a biker. Second time was a date a few months later, so I was dressed nicer and my beard was better groomed. Third time was probably just standard issue blue jeans and white t-shirt, again a couple of months later. No matter what I was wearing or which girl I was with or how much time passed, I'd sit down at the bar and he'd look at me for a few seconds like he was digging through his memory and say, "Old-fashioned, right?" That dude was really good at that and cool as shit. Looks like you found the real-life version of Google, except this one is powered by whiskey and a killer memory. Next time you should come in dressed as a unicorn just to test his skills. Story 15. I creep up on people all the time. I don't mean to, but I make almost no sound when I walk. Reply 1. Same. I clip my keys to my belt loop in public so people can hear me and not be startled/run into me. Reply 2. I'm the same way. I make my wife scream all the time by walking into a room without her noticing. It happens so often that when our son was somewhere between 1 and 2, he also started screaming whenever I walked into a room. He just thought it was a thing we did in our family. It happens to other people outside of home too. I start talking to people and they jump out of their skin. Story 16. People that are able to drastically change their personality or the way they talk and act when around different groups of people or someone else arrives. Reply 1. For me, it's a coping mechanism I developed from a childhood of abuse and neglect. You have to be a different person to avoid the triggers, and sometimes it just catches you as an adult. Reply 2. Same. Childhood abuse does teach you to adapt quickly to survive, which turns into a lifelong coping mechanism to fit in, also survive. But it leaves you not knowing who you actually are, which can cause an identity crisis when triggered by trauma such as rejection, abandonment, later in life. Story 17. Spatial awareness. I can look at something and tell you whether or not it will fit onto a wall, into a box or a car, through a hallway or stairwell, etc. I was at a shipping store a few months ago, and a guy was in line behind me trying to figure out which size box to get for the box he was trying to fit into. I pointed at a specific size and said, "That one, but only if you put your box in this side up." It slid in perfectly, and he gave me the weirdest look. Somehow, though, I always seem to bump into the corners of tables. Reply 1. This is literally how the series Psych starts. The main character, Sean Spencer, is too good at being observant, and because he kept sending tips to the local police, they called him in for questioning because they thought he might be involved in all those crimes. So he has to pretend to be a psychic. Well, it's a good thing that you have your spatial awareness superpower to make up for your inability to navigate around tables. Maybe you need to wear a bubble suit just to be safe? Story 18. Cleaning out stains. I cut my hand pretty badly once and blood got into my white shirt. I tried to clean it myself, but the stain never got out. I told my mom, who told me to bring it with me when I came back for a Christmas break, and she cleaned it. By the way, she didn't even bleach it. Her ability to clean stains so well has since then been suspicious to me. Story 19. Noticing details about people. I have moved around a lot and have worked in a lot of industries, one being in tourism. If I'm a tour guide and I notice a particular brand of clothing and ask someone if they're from a particular place and am right, it's me being observant and leads to a fun discussion. If I do the same thing in line getting coffee, it's considered creepy. Ah, the double-edged sword of being observant. In the tourism industry, you're a perceptive and knowledgeable guide. In line at a coffee shop, you're the weirdo with a photographic memory for fashion. Maybe it's time to switch to decaf and blend in with the normies. Story 20. I look at license plates. I don't know why, but it's every day for me. But for some reason, I pretty much had the license plate of the girl I liked memorized. It was easy to remember, and we worked the same place together every day, so I saw it a lot. One time I almost slipped and said, "Hey, were you driving out in place I saw them at today?" And almost mentioned that the truck's license plate looked just like hers. Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.